It's always just the best feeling to beat NC State. And now you've got an opportunity to knock off North Carolina to close out the week as well. Duke trying to hold on to the 1 seed line in the NCAA tournament ahead of a big ACC tournament run next week in Charlotte. All that and more on Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thanks so much for being here with us today on Thursday, March 5th, 2026. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. And on today's show, we're highlighting Duke's win over NC State to start the week and now getting set for Saturday's showdown against the North Carolina Tar Heels. All that and more coming up on today's show, and we're glad that you are making us a part of your daily routine. Thank you for doing that. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Go ahead and take a moment, if you will, like this video, share it with your friends, continue to support everything that we've got going on here with Locked On Blue Devils as we continue to climb towards 5,000 YouTube subscribers, recently celebrating the 5-year milestone of Locked On Blue Devils. Happy to be doing this for 5 years, and here's to 5 more and so much beyond that here at Locked On Blue Devils. Joining us on the show today, my good friend Josh Cox from Section 17 Media, recapping a big week for Duke basketball there in the state of North Carolina. Josh Cox, how are you, man?
Doing well, JJ, man. Pretty dominating win the other night in Raleigh on Monday night, and been a good stretch of Duke basketball, man. I know we haven't talked in a couple of weeks, and man, it's been a good couple of weeks of basketball, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're outright ACC champions. You know, there's no way mathematically for a team like Virginia behind Duke in the standings to catch them, and Duke also has that head-to-head victory. So yet another year back-to-back here for Duke that they've won the ACC title, and obviously Duke's had so much ACC tournament success. There was a good run there where that wasn't necessarily what Coach K was known for, was winning those ACC regular season titles. But this is a pretty strong feeling, man, to be this dominant against teams in your conference when collectively everybody is talking about the fact that the league as a whole this year has been much better than it was a year ago.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you can't there's not the naysayers this year of like, well, the ACC is terrible. The ACC is not terrible. It's not like incredibly strong, but it's definitely stronger than it has been. And then, you see Duke with only 1 loss in the conference. That was to UNC, as we know, and Duke was up double digits, as we know. Seth Trimble hits the incredible shot there in Chapel Hill,
as we know,
and that's the only thing that stands in between Duke and an undefeated ACC season so far, and that's, I mean, very, very impressive from this squad.
To be able to get it done throughout the entire course of the season, take everyone's best shot, and so many of the games really haven't even been competitive. It's funny, you go back through the ACC calendar for Duke and home games in particular, like the close calls were early. It was Georgia Tech by 6 points. It was SMU by 7 points, man. But then you look, there really haven't been close home games. The closest all year was the Florida game that Duke had. So maybe it's setting up for something coming up on Saturday when you get another showdown with North Carolina. And obviously they're going to want to give their absolute best shot in knocking off Duke once again. But the ability to be so dominant at home, I think, is truly special.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the most dominating performance at home really, I think, has to be the Louisville game, right? I mean, that was, I guess there's also been a couple of others, but that Louisville game seemed to be the one because, Louisville came into the season, preseason top 3 in the ACC. A lot of talk about Pat Kelsey and the job that he did last season, and not to take anything away from him. And then Duke goes up there for the first of the 2 because, that's other than UNC, that's the only team Duke played twice, right? And they go up there, struggle, turn things around in the second half, get the win, but it wasn't pretty. And then Louisville shows up to Cameron and just gets shellacked. And that's been the MO. It seems like from that point forward, it was just like you come into Cameron or really other than the UNC game, like Duke's just going to bring 100% of what they've got, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Duke knocks off NC State. North Carolina knocks off Clemson. North Carolina finishes the season with a perfect record there at the Dean Dome inside the Smith Center. And Duke also has yet to lose at home. The only two Power Conference teams this year to boast undefeated records at home. North Carolina has the final chance of ruining that for Duke. But if there's ever any argument about the best rivalry in the sport or anything like that, or best venues and whatnot, I mean, just look at what these two teams do on their home floor. And this is another year where that's the perfect example.
Yeah, it's going to be electric on Saturday. And UNC, all credit to them. They've earned this. This is going to be an incredibly competitive matchup. Rightfully so. There's going to be a lot of people, a lot of eyeballs on this game. And it is going to be, I hope at least, it's one of those vintage, Duke UNC matchups, man. I'm not meaning this in any kind of a slight, because Duke has had a couple of seasons where they've been on the low end of this. But like when they're not both really good, it's not as fun. It's a lot of fun when they're both top 10, 15 teams in the country, which, that's what UNC absolutely is there, especially when Caleb Wilson is back and he's at 100%. I mean, they're a top 10 team at that point. And so that's what this rivalry is all about. And that's what this rivalry was built on, is like elite programs and teams fighting against each other at least twice a year.
And this is a year where we've got Duke taking on North Carolina. Both teams have been ranked in the AP poll, and I would expect that. Obviously, that's going to be the case on Saturday's game. And, there's even a possibility where they meet up once more in the ACC tournament, as we've seen several of those meetings going head-to-head and that sort of thing. I want to get to this NC State win here in just a moment, and then we'll talk more about this North Carolina game. But big picture, Jon Scheyer continues to just bolster his coaching resume. Clearly, the ACC Coach of the Year. If it doesn't go in his favor, I want to fight something, because I don't know what else the guy can do, man. Give me some love for Jon Scheyer here, Josh.
Yeah, you've probably seen it by now if you're following along on social media, but 117 victories in the first 4 seasons. It either ties or breaks Brad Stevens' record. And then obviously John's still got games left to play, so he'll break that record. And so that's pretty incredible. His X's and O's, man, are just, they're spot on. And I know he would say, like, he's not taking, all the credit for that. Like, I know he's got a good staff. I know Evan Bradds has a lot to do with the scheme, especially on offense. You see Evan Bradds up quite a bit, calling out sets and whispering to John different things. And I know on defense, you've got Thornton and other guys that are really speaking into those things. And so I know he's got a great staff, but he's done a really incredible job, man. And like, he's got his guys bought in every single year. Every year he's got a different roster because it's modern college basketball, and he's able to adapt. And while this team has some similarities to last year's team, it's a different team than last year's team. He's coaching it differently than he coached last year's team. And that's really all you can ask for, right? It's like, don't get too set in your ways, be flexible, be able to tailor make each season based upon the personnel that you have. And I see that Jon Scheyer seems to have done that at an elite level.
No doubt about that. Keep doing what you're doing, Coach Scheyer, because it's clearly working, and it's been awesome to watch what Duke's been able to do throughout the course of the year. And Jon Scheyer is just going to continue to cement his legacy as one of the top coaches in the entire sport. And in so many ways, we're spoiled, man. You go from the greatest of all time to now the best in the sport. It's the brotherhood's awesome. It's great to be in the Duke basketball world, man.
And I would say this: if he doesn't win ACC Coach of the Year, then let's just rename the award to the coach who coaches the team that had the most improvement in the win column. Right. And is this the most improved program award, or is this the Coach of the Year?
Right.
And I would say that, honestly, if Tony Bennett was still in the league and Virginia had one ACC loss, right? Okay, then he's the Coach of the Year. Like,
right.
That is what it is. And like, I'm not saying that it's got to be the top team every single year. I do think there are some years where your number 2 or 3 team, really there could be. But like this season, with the way that Jon Scheyer has coached these guys, if he doesn't win it, let's just rename it. Let's just rename the award. So
I love it. Well, let's what we want to do right now is take our first time out on the program today. And then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the most recent win for Duke basketball over NC State when Locked On Blue Devils continues here in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. The biggest stretch of college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. The hard part is actually getting tickets. Long waiting queues, prices jumping around, and surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat view feature is a game changer. You can see a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. You know what to expect going into it. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Show today also brought to you by our friends at Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, Mazda's moving the game forward moment for Duke in their most recent win over NC State. How about the career day for Dame Sarr? 16 points for him, made several key three-point jumpers for the Blue Devils, and so much more. These remind us what it takes to really raise the bar, the extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put the same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Mazda is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, let's keep going. I've got Josh Cox here from Section 17 Media talking about this Duke game and the win over NC State. Dame Sarr, man, big-time breakout performance for him. He's been playing really good basketball as of late. I mentioned 33% three-point shooting on the season. He's shooting, though, 43% from deep over the last 6 games. And I think it starts with him when you kind of look at this. We're overlooking, once again, what Cam Boozer does and kind of his brilliance and whatnot. But Sarr's really turned a corner.
Yeah, we just fell into the trap of being spoiled rotten by Cam Boozer. 26 points on 8 of 10 shooting, 9 boards, and here we are talking about Dame Sarr. But hey, it is what it is. Now, Dame Sarr, honestly, without the kind of the boost that Dame Sarr gave in the first half, the offense was struggling a little bit. And I know that Duke's would have eventually overcome whatever it was, but it did take a little bit of figuring out on that zone. And I wouldn't even use the word struggle per se. It just took a few minutes for Duke to really get into their groove. And I believe the Duke MBB social media even put out a clip of Jon Scheyer in the huddle talking about how they needed to swing the ball, but then do a pump fake and then they could get the ball to the middle. And once Duke realized they could get the ball to the middle, to Cam Boozer, it even opened it up. And so Dame Sarr hitting corner threes, man, it's really big, and not just obviously not against a zone either. In a regular man-to-man, he's hit well. And I think that what you're getting from Cam Boozer. We can pretty much say now you know what you're going to get from Isaiah Evans. You know what you're going to get, and it may not be 20 points a game, but you know you're going to get productivity. You know what you're going to get from Caleb Foster offensively, right? Yeah. And once again, there's some fluctuation there. Ngongba, the is the same way, but the wild card is Sarr. And you really don't know. And if you look back over the season, you really didn't know what you were going to get with him. But I can tell you this, if what you get with him is 12 plus points a game, and then you add to what he does on the defensive end and all the chaos and everything that he causes, then this takes the Duke team to the next level.
Yeah, and he's just been more engaged in everything. I mean, it's been awesome to see him locked in on the defensive end of the floor. But there's nothing sexy about that, Josh. It's not like if you're a true observer week after week and a big-time Duke fan, you're going to recognize, this is one of our top defenders. But it's not like you're going to work the next day and saying, man, this guy really kind of lighting him up on the defensive end. It's not the case. But when you're scoring, when he's jumping above the rim like he's been doing, when he's knocking down these three-point shots, then he gets to be a little bit more braggadocious and bought in. And I'm seeing a little bit more fire from Sarr as of late because of what he's doing there offensively as well to the defense.
Well, what you're seeing is a young man, right? International guy playing, finally like coming into his own after, really like trying to figure out the college game, figure out the game in the States and all that stuff. And here we are at the beginning of March, and we've seen over the last few games that, hey, guess what? The guy got better over the year, and he's now, playing peak basketball for what we've seen. And that's exactly if you're Jon Scheyer, when you landed him as a recruit, that's probably really what you were hoping for. Best case scenario is like, hey, this guy comes in, he's good, but he's rough around the edges, and we're not quite sure. And then, hey, come February, come March, like he's hitting his stride, and he absolutely is.
Yeah, and we'll obviously save the discussions about decisions that need to be made after the year and what's next for someone who's had previous pro ball experience. And there's going to be an appetite for him at the next level. Certainly not what we would have thought coming into the year and that sort of thing. But I want to hold off on that. How about the clip Duke put out after the game inside the locker room when they're wanting to celebrate? And Dame Sarr's at the whiteboard. I'm sure you saw this by now, much like everyone else. And the guy speaks 6 languages, and he's tasked with writing ACC champions on the board. He spelled it correctly, man. But that was fun having his teammates give him a hard time.
I love it. And speaking of that, it does seem like this team legitimately has a good time with one another. And I don't know. I mean, I think Duke gets spoiled with that just because of the culture. And shout out to Will Wade, by the way, for what he said and what was quoted after the game of like recognizing the program excellence really of Duke and how they operate. And he literally said he's never seen it on that level. And like, that's the standard, which is awesome. But I think that camaraderie that you see with these guys, the way that they pick with each other, the way that they seem to enjoy hanging out with each other. These are all things that matter in March, man. They matter in March, and these are guys that you got to be willing to dive on the floor after a loose ball for. This is a guy that you got to be willing to, stand in the way and take a charge for. Like these are guys that you want to win for. At the end of the day, you want to win for yourself, but you want to win for your teammates. And so, Duke seems to be right now, knock on wood, they seem to be firing on all cylinders, both on the court and off the court.
Another game with over 40 team rebounds, Duke in double digits and 3-point shots made. They're sharing the basketball. I mean, just all in all, you look at all the basketball metrics and stats here it's hard to just nitpick and what's not going well for Duke right now, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I think 6th nationally in rebounding, and I think they're plus 10 or whatever it is, rebounding margin. 6th in the country on that. And then I don't know how many games it's been, but like several games throughout the year. I don't even know. Over 20 assists. I think I've got it in the notes somewhere, but tons of games this year with over 20 assists. And so I think I had it. I thought I had it.
Well, let's take a break and then we'll kind of recognize the ball.
I found it. 10th game this season with 20 or more assists. So pretty
special. Yeah, the ball movement is something for the Duke team. And now they've got a big one. The last game of the regular season against those guys in Chapel Hill. The rivalry continues to move on. We'll talk about that when Locked On Blue Devils continues here in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I've got my number 1 pick ready to go for the draft. Today, number 1 pick, I love the classic berry. Big, bold berry flavor. Slightly sweet and very fruity flavor. Classic mixed berry flavor with notes of raspberry and blackberry. It's got a tartness that keeps it balanced. Easy to recognize fruit profile. That would absolutely be my number 1 pick. 5 Hour Energy Shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. It's got a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned as well. Find the new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy Shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. 5 Hour Energy, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Take this time to also remind you about our Everydayer Club, a great way to get plugged in and involved more with Locked On Blue Devils. You can get Locked On Blue Devils ad-free with the Everydayer Club, plus an invite to our members-only Discord access. Join LockedOnBlueDevils.supercast.com for more on the Everydayer Club there with Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, Josh Cox hanging out with me today. We're getting set for Duke basketball, taking on North Carolina this weekend in Cameron Indoor. What's an X factor? Who is an X factor on the Duke side of things, do you think, for this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's got to be the combination of Pat Ngongba and Maliq Brown. If you
That's
remember,
where I was going to go, man. Yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry. So we don't script this, by the way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you remember back to the game in Chapel Hill, I mean the bigs, including Cam Boozer, got in foul trouble. Caleb Wilson had a ridiculous first half. Hit some shots that were just over the top, like stupid shots. Yeah. But also he did a really good job of drawing fouls, and you can debate, if some of them should have been fouls, but at the end of the day, he drew them, and so did Vassar and a couple of others. And so I think the X factor for Duke is going to be the bigs. Can they stay out of foul trouble? Can they stay on the floor? And then I think there's also just the kind of the emotional, side of things, that this will be Maliq Brown's, last home game. College game day will be there. It's Duke UNC at Duke. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a few minutes at the beginning of the game where, like, all the Duke guys need to get their legs under them, right? They need to take a deep breath. They need to breathe. And so, I think there's going to be that. But I do think if I had to narrow it down to one thing, it's going to be the bigs. And that would include, of course, like rebounding. And Duke does a great job of rebounding. But that would include that.
Yeah, Ngongba's been, obviously battling with foul trouble every single game, but, so many plays around the rim, and Duke is such a physical team, and want him to be in the game, able to make things happen. And for all those guys, Pat, Cam, Maliq, staying out of foul trouble, Dame Sarr even has been there as of late. The guards typically are able to kind of control themselves a little bit when you look at Slim and Cephas and Caden, what he's been able to do. But those guys in particular, I think, need to make sure that they're not getting into foul trouble. And then offensively, I think Ngongba being aggressive and attacking, just 6 shots against NC State. That's kind of been the number that he's been sitting around throughout the course of the year. But he's so efficient. I'm going to be curious kind of the 3-point attempts that possibly could be there from Big Pat and from Maliq, because I'm sure North Carolina is going to dare him to shoot those things when they try to scheme up against this Duke team. But offensively, I want to see Big Pat ready to rock as well. And then the energy he brings. I talked about kind of the braggadocious nature that we've seen more from Dame Sarr as of late. Pat's got an edge to him as well. Okay. And I think games like these really mean something to him.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Pat's like a soft-spoken dude, but when he gets on the court, he becomes a menace. But yeah, I do think, when you play off a guy like Pat, like what Pat's got to turn into is a really good screener, and whether that's an on-the-ball screen or whether that's like a DHO or whatever it might be, if your man is not going to play up, then you've got to be able to create space for the other guys. And so, and that's a weird kind of a Draymond-y type role. And we all know that Pat's a good passer and Malik's an elite passer. So, I think if that be the case, if they do just sag off and let those guys do it, they've got to turn into really good screeners, and they got to really get their men, Isaiah and Darren and other guys like that open. For open shots. And so, I will say this, I'm sure Duke has seen the kitchen sink thrown at them over this season on defense, right? Including, Monday night with a full game of 2-3 zone, basically almost a full game of it. So I know that Jon Scheyer had this team ready on the scheme side. It's just a matter of execution. It's a matter of staying focused on that. It's a matter of not going away from something just because you had a couple possessions of it not working. And we'll see where that goes on Saturday.
You got any bold predictions for this one, Josh? And I say that knowing that this is a game in Cameron where we've seen Obama show up baseline before. So, and I don't necessarily have one. This is just a moment in a game every year where every person in America is going to be watching with College Game Day there, and it being Duke and North Carolina from Cameron.
Yeah, I think maybe on the court bold prediction. Yeah. I think there's going to be I think it's going to be like a shots Isaiah Evans, Caleb Foster, Darren, like I think Duke's going to shoot really well. And that would be my thing, that it's not that it's not going to be a Cam Boozer night, but I do think there's going to be somebody else that may steal the spotlight in some way. So that's kind of the Duke prediction. And once again, I say that Cam's probably still going to have 18 to 20 points and 10 rebounds, or whatever, but there's going to be somebody else that's like, does some flashy stuff. So I'll give that maybe to Slim or Foster, both of those North Carolina guys. Right. So that'll be good. And then off the court, be very interesting. I'm trying to think of somebody, that we haven't seen.
Yeah. I know you get a lot of phone calls this time of year.
Seinfeld, I don't know. Like Seinfeld, I don't know if I don't know if his son or daughter is still at Duke.
Right.
That would be an interesting
That's a good one because Jerry has made – let's get Jerry Seinfeld to the game. I'm glad that it's one of the first times I've ever mentioned him on the show, and my heart is happier that I've been able to do that. So
maybe just reach out to him, JJ. Reach out to him.
Yeah, we'll do that. Josh, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for being here today on the program, all right?
JJ, have a good day, man. We'll see you.
All right, that's Josh Cox from Section 17 Media. Go support those guys and everything that they do with the program. That's going to do it for our show here today. Get you set for Duke and North Carolina. Plenty of more content, plenty more coverage coming your way, including a Locked On crossover. Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels and myself chopping it up as we get you set for the game coming up between Duke and North Carolina. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.